Hi, guys. Welcome back to our more recent episode of Shattered Fates, and we continue right where we left off. So, Parno. Yeah, that's unconscious Parno.
So unconscious part now.
So,
How do you feel?
unconscious Parno, how are you feeling?
Look at these ink blots.
Do I have to answer?
You're remembering back when you first came to the Vossenberg Academy. You remember the feeling of being so completely alone because you were the only orphan there. There were no other orphans that had arrived. And it was a bit strange. You were a bit separated from all the rest of these kids who were extremely rich and who had all kind of known each other. And this was a class that had been going on for years already. You weren't necessarily picked on. It wasn't anything of that nature. But they definitely viewed you in a lower light. You were an orphan. You're from Varisia. You're from a place that is basically a wilderness.
And no station or class.
Right.
Manners are rude and uncouth.
Yep. You eat improperly with fork and knife, or without fork and knife, really, mostly with
Just
hands. And at this point, how old were you when you first arrived?
6, I believe.
Okay. So you were 6 years old. And so it was a bit odd for you, and you were very quiet during that month that you were alone. I'm sure you've maybe tried talking to kids, and every time they asked you where you were from, you always had a different story, a different way of saying it, a different kind of thing, and that only made them even more like reluctant to talk to you. But then she arrived, and Isabel was a little bit older than you. Not by much, maybe by about a year. But she had this sort of way about her that was very carefree. She didn't care about what these people thought about her. She didn't care about like all this other stuff. And she kind of talked with this sort of bizarre accent. You would assume it to be Chilaxian, but it was almost with a lot of like kind of guttural sounds to it and everything else. And she had a lot of stories to tell. Stories about pirates. Because she was raised amongst pirates. And so the time you spent with her, which was about like 4 months before anyone else even arrived, was probably the best memories you have or didn't have of Vossenberg Academy.
Remember that one good time in your life? Oh yeah, you know.
Now Isabel was a little taller than you, and as sort of time went on, she remained a little taller than you. She had this flowing red hair that was extremely vibrant, and extremely long, even for that age. And she had it tied up into different types of braids all across the way in different places. And she acted far more adult than you would expect a 7-year-old to act. Though looking back on the memory, she was still just a kid pretending to be an adult. But fondly, you look upon it as this time where you were no longer alone. And then Vincent showed up, and Udo, and all these others that you started spending time with, and you started getting close to. And they all looked up to you. Each of them sort of looked to you as it was weird, but somehow they looked to you as a leader. And you're not sure the reason for that. Like, you were the quiet one who showed up. Isabel was the one who spoke up. She was the one who was wild and crazy and and outspoken. But for some reason, they all just kind of began looking to you.
I tied them together, like made that group a group rather than just
Yeah. And it's also something about the fact that you were the first to arrive, the first at the orphans. You'd been there for a while. You knew where everything was. So whenever they show up, you'd show them where everything was.
all the good spots.
And then for some reason, like another showed up, and there were 6 of you. And then one more arrived. And for some reason, they took you away from them. They removed you from them. And you don't remember it. It's hard to remember. But for some reason, it's like you ignored Isabel. Like in your memories, it's like all of them, they were just sort of the upper class. They weren't part of you anymore. And for some reason, you just, like, you didn't even, like, she was just sort of another person. Like, in your memories, it goes from her being the most important person in your life to just sort of being another person. And remembering this now, it makes sense that occasionally she would come up to you and she'd get angry. And then when Christiana showed up, and suddenly you had a friend, and it's almost like Christiana, you kind of felt the same way, but it wasn't quite the same. Like Christiana, whereas Isabel was sort of this vibrant person that you were drawn to, Christiana sort of was someone you helped out, took care of. She hid a lot. She seemed to be afraid of a lot of things.
I had ties to Chris, where I had no ties to Isabel after that point.
Right. And it sort of began again, this sort of idea of you being this sort of leader, as different people arrived, Corwin and Hamish and Mishka. And you remember that night that suddenly you were 6. Like, somehow that was important. That number, 6 people, was an important thing to you, like it was complete. And you remember having the bonfire. Well, there wasn't a bonfire, though. You didn't have a bonfire, it was just a party. And there was no fire, there was no anything.
It was a celebration. We were welcoming...
Right, but there was no fire. And you remember that Christiana brought people in and everything else. And Isabel wasn't with them. But she came later in the party. And you remember her being angry. Angry at you and especially angry at Christiana. She started accusing Christiana of stealing you away, of taking you, of removing your friend. It's like she blamed Christiana for everything, and then suddenly in her anger, it's like she started changing. Suddenly her skin became reddish and almost scaled. Her fingers became almost blackened, and her eyes began changing, and then she exploded in flame. And suddenly the entirety of the dorm was set aflame. At which point, you remember Kay and others grabbing water and throwing it on her and putting her out. But you also remember that Udo started changing then. And then Kay, and then Vincent. And they all just started altering, each of them sort of in some odd way. And that's when you remember the music. And that's when you don't remember much more. Except you do remember the memories they gave you. Cleaning up, the bonfire. It's like they're sort of there on the surface above these memories, just sort of hovering, but you can feel them as they're just sort of drifting away, as though the threads no longer within them are keeping them solid, and these other memories are taking their place that seem far more real. And being in the office with the headmaster was real. His anger was real of a sort, but it feels more now like it was a play, like an addition to this other story, and makes no more sense within the context of what was real. At that point, you never saw Isabel again, even though these memories above show her appearing, but just sort of being there, passing her in the hall, but suddenly you realize that's another girl you passed by. You also remember seeing Udo at one point, but the memory underneath it is actually Udo going crazy. He's on a gurney of some kind as they're moving him along, and he's just growling and screaming and frothing at the mouth, and they seem to be taking him out of the academy.
Dreams and nightmares.
But the nightmares feel more real than the dreams.
I think they're meant to.
And you never saw Isabel past that day. Except you heard... Actually, no, I'm sorry. That is my fault. That is a lie. So the dorm is on fire. And you're standing there, and you basically have now thrown down a blanket to Jiaying. And you see her basically using the blanket, putting it around herself, and you see her trying to make her way into the fire. But you also see some other shape moving down below, near Jiaying. Like it's almost like a shadowy shape, sort of moving past her. You look up and you see through the flames and through everything, you can see Hamish there, as it was before, and he launches magic out from his hands that he tries to put out the fire to be able to get to you, but it's just not strong enough. It's not enough to put out the flames. And then you see that Viola's with him. And Viola just sort of looks at you, grabs him, and begins pulling him away. almost as though she's trying to take him away from you, like pull him away from you. It doesn't look as though Hamish doesn't want to go. It's just more so that Hamish wants to bring you with. You go after Corwin, and the same thing sort of happens there, but you don't remember hitting your head. In fact, you made it down perfectly fine. And as you're coming down, you see that there are figures out in the courtyard. As you're kind of climbing, and they seem to be fighting amongst one another. You can see that there is what looks to be some sort of large wolf. Like, at this point, it's enormous. It has to be at least 20 foot long. And it's wrapped in chains. And you see that chains are coming off from it that are flying everywhere. And in one of those chains, you can see what you swear is Vincent, except he seems to have horns kind of coming out from the back of his head. And you also see Isabel standing there in front of it, like letting forth flame, like gutting forth from her at this sort of beast. And behind it, you see Mishka and Christiana sort of hiding behind the beast as it fends off these the upperclassmen. And you stand there with Corwin and Jia Ying staring at amazement as all of this is going on before you. At which point, one of them gets thrown across and you get slammed into a wall. And at that point, you don't remember anything more of what happened that day, other than the fact that the headmaster came and woke you up, that the potion was real, and you remember that Jia Ying and Corwin were both standing over you when you woke up.
She's alive.
And that's when you wake up, and you're sitting at a table, sort of slumped over the table, and sort of on it like this, and
Thanks,
you
guys.
kind of wake up like this. You realize you're also sort of leaning onto something, like behind you here. You smell food, and it smells like something sort of spiced. But you also smell beyond the food this sort of musky, sort of sewery smell. It's obvious there. Like, you know, it's basically like the sewers were previously, like that you'd gone through. Although not as strong, but it's kind of in the background there. But you find that your stomach is just rumbling. Like,
I think I'm probably hungry enough to search around.
uh-huh.
So what does it look like? I haven't eaten actually in how many years?
Actually, you guys haven't eaten since the day of the fire went on. So you're at this point just gonna go to you guys. It's a table that is about maybe 5 foot wide by
It's
about
like the Harry Potter
8 foot
feast table.
long. Yeah, and it's just filled with, it's overflowing with different food, and it's all like there's cooked turkey and cooked everything, turkey, chicken, some sort of lamb it might be, you're assuming, and there's multiples of them. There's a bunch of fruit, boiled vegetables that are kind of circling them. Now in this place, it doesn't look like there's a kitchen anywhere, because when you were brought out from the room, what it was is sort of it's almost like a back sewer area that had been set up or changed into like a base camp of sorts. There was tables when you came out that had a bunch of maps on them, but you were very quickly brought past those into sort of a side room that had this table and all the food and sort of benches on either side. And so as you're kind of lifting yourself off and the drool's kind of coming out from your mouth,
I wipe it surreptitiously.
okay, you kind of realize that what you're leaning on is Corwin, who's just sort of like he seems to have like turned and he's kind of chewing on something and he's looking down at you. Okay.
How is he still hungry? He just threw up people.
Corwin is only eating the fruit.
Okay.
He's vegetarian.
He's gonna be now. So he's basically eating just the fruit. But yeah, you're kind of looking at him. He has what looks to be some sort of grapple in his hands.
How does my finger feel?
Now that you're kind of concentrating on it, it's like the numbness of your body is going away, and your finger feels fine.
I'll look at it.
There's a definite scar all around it, but it's brought back together again. It's set and it's healed. And there's a little bit of pain when you bend it. That you have a feeling is always just sort of going to be there, like this constant reminder
to get a better ring.
You see on the other side of the... What's that? On the right hand.
Okay.
Basically, the hand that you get married, it's your wedding ring.
That's the left.
That's the left.
Is it the left? I always thought it was right hand.
No,
No,
the left.
it's the left.
If you are in certain parts of Europe, it is the right hand, but...
We're going to go with right hand.
All right.
We're just going to stick with that.
It's not the married
It's a
hand.
European. It's a European fantasy. Fantasy setting.
On the other side of the table, as you're sort of lifting up, you see Mishka and Christiana, and they seem to be gorging. There's bones left over in front of them. You're still hungry. The problem was initially when you first started eating, it kind of made you throw up a little bit, so you had to slow down a little bit more. But now that your stomach's gotten used to it, you're kind of more able to eat.
He's looking for a drink, for a beverage of some kind.
Yeah, there's it looks like there's a giant jug and like some cups right there.
I take the jug. I skip the cups.
As you begin downing the liquid, and it seems to be water. As you're downing it, you're almost like your esophagus and your stomach almost just can't handle it, and you feel like you're just going to rush it right back up again. And suddenly, like, I'm not even giving you a roll.
Yeah, I turn away from Corwin and just...
All right.
Chris is feeling extra squeamish.
Sorry.
It's mostly water. It's okay. There's not a whole lot of stuff down there.
As you come back again, Corwin looks at you. You might want to take it a little bit slower.
I need it to wash out. I take another swig and I'm just swishing it, just like...
I mean, you weren't eating people.
I feel like I'm eating
breath.
dust.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actually, yeah, your entire everything feels dry. Everything feels like... Just take a small sip, one at a time. You also realize that there's someone else in the room with you. He's just sort of sitting off on a table, like off to the side of where you are, and he seems to be eating his own food, and he's got some stuff that he's kind of working on. You do recognize him from when the fighting happened, and the sort of more with the flourish, the man having the rapier and kind of came in with the hat with the really big feather in it.
This is the fight with the lots of violas?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
just to clarify.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have a hat anymore, and his hair is sort of shortish, but it's it kind of fits his face very well. He has a bit of a beard, more of a goatee than the rest of the beard. He looks from you, because you've had a lot of visitors and you've seen people from different places and all over. He definitely has a Tal'Doran look about him, not just in his face, but in the clothing that he's wearing. It's basically like Tal'Doran's small clothes. He's not dressed up currently, but it's the way that the end ruffles are and things of that nature. But he's just sort of it looks like he's doing his own thing over there, but also kind of keeping an eye on all of you. You can also see, so that's to your right. To your left, you see that there's a door, like a double door that seems to be sort of a metal and stone mix, and one of the doors is slightly ajar. And through there, you can see people kind of moving and talking. You can't really make out what they're saying, but they're kind of talking in hushed tones, but they're definitely in there.
That's the only door?
There is another door directly ahead of you that is a much smaller one, but that's it. There's no windows. There's light only from like candelabras on the table and a couple candles on other tables nearby.
Kind of a gloomy place. Except for the food. The food makes it quite warm.
When you were brought out, they didn't really explain anything to you. You were just brought back past and told to eat. At which point, once everyone was in the room, Viola left. And sort of left you alone. And you got the impression that she actually left the entire complex. Only because, Christiana, you happened to overhear a conversation going on between her and the sort of the fancy man. And only kind of heard little bits of it. Something about a change in plans, and something about like that she was not going to be back for a little while, and just to keep an eye and let them eat. And that was it.
Are there any sweet cakes?
I ate them all.
Fortunately, I don't know that there were sweet cakes.
Do you actually say that out loud? Or are you just looking?
No, I'm just looking.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Most of what you see is more hearty, like like I said, the boiled vegetables, fruits, meat, just sort of, your normal fare. Give me an innkeeper roll. Your profession, innkeeper.
Oop, sorry.
Yep. Want to do that? Oh yeah, here, hold on.
That'll be a 10.
We do. Sure, that sounds good.
Oh, that looks good today.
Wow,
I
that
know,
is
right?
very
Look how
crisp.
Yeah, I know, we
sweet
got
the
it super
dice
crisp.
Oh, look at that. Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So, all right, what was that? What was the total?
A 10.
A 10? All right. You look at the food, and it's fairly normal in fare, but like you can't really recognize really where it comes from or anything like that about it. But then again, you haven't tried tasting it really yet. On presentation, though, like different inns present in different ways,
Yeah.
and so you don't recognize the presentation. But then again, but you know it's in food. You're positive of that. It's the way that it's cooked. It's a lot of the different vegetables that are there. You just can't place which one. So obviously, wherever they are, there must be access to some sort of an inn or maybe a tavern. But most taverns in the city don't serve food. They're just mostly about drink. It's mostly the inns that have restaurants within them, and
Especially
stuff
not
like
this
that.
hearty food. So.
Oh yeah, nothing like this.
So I'm in my head. I'm thinking that we're probably in a passage or a set of rooms off of like a wine cellar or the tavern store hold or something like that.
Maybe, but it's,
Underground?
the way that everything looks here is it feels like it's sewer. Like, because when you were walking through the sewer before, you'd passed doors that looked like that.
Was I walking through
You-
sewer
this
before?
sm-
Oh, that's unconscious, right?
No, earlier, much
Earlier,
earlier.
okay.
Remember when you had left from there
Oh.
and Viola was taking you through?
Gotcha.
You've been in a sewer already.
Gotcha.
This definitely,
Lucky you.
it has the same architecture of the sewer. It has the same look and feel to it. The room is kind of curved on the tops and it has pipes kind of moving through like larger.
So someone's just tidied up this part of the sewer for use for some kind.
Yes. So,
Okay.
and there's still some leftover smells coming from the door.
Right. The gases are not going to get rid
Yeah.
of. Okay.
Maybe that's what we're going for. Like a nice
The ambiance, the sewer
yeah,
ambiance.
right. All the other ones look like your standard taverns, so they're like,
So over here we have your standard sewer, but this is our more upgraded sewer that
Yeah.
is without the smell. I'm sorry, but if it doesn't have the smell, it's just not a sewer.
Right. Well, but it sets them apart from all the other inns and taverns. This
Right.
one is
Tavern.
This tavern,
Yeah.
this is the sewer
It's
tavern.
like the guys and
Yeah,
dolls, the
Mhm.
sewer
If you really
crafts.
want to
They're-
have some underground shady things, they're gonna actually be underground.
Yep. All right, so
all about that ambiance.
so what are you doing?
I'm going to tear in some meat.
Okay, I'll let you do a reroll on the innkeeper check.
Whoa. Okay, that's much better.
Wow, nice roll.
19.
You're eating it. And you kind of like the flavor goes through, and you're getting a bunch of the different spices, the tarragon that's sort of in there, the sort of the taste of the meat, and you recognize the cook's name is Albert. You don't recall his last name, but you do know that it's at the Cup and Thorn. That's an inn that's actually on the sort of northern portion of the foreign quarter. So let's actually
I want to make sure. I was actually checking to make sure I
Really?
used intelligence.
look. Don't bring it over there, otherwise you're going to turn off the stream again.
Hey,
All right.
So foreign quarter, you said?
Yeah, kind of close up towards where it would probably be, like right near the Ascendant Court, sort of in that place where it like kind of juts off a little bit in the foreign quarter on the north part, and sort of the point where the Wise Quarter, the Ascendant Court, and the foreign quarter meet there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll keep that to myself. I'll resist the urge to my compliments to the
Yeah.
chef and all that. So at this point, the actual eating the food right now is more important. But I'll sort of just note that. And
Okay. You also sense that something else has noted that as well.
okay.
Sort of deep inside of you, and at that point you realize that someone else is looking around. That as you've been sort of looking at everything, he's been pointing out exits and entrances. He's been trying to like catalog various different things that are going on within the room.
I'm kind of.
The other thing that happened when you came out of the room that you were in is you could feel the other part waking up. It hasn't really said anything or done much of anything, but you just sort of know that it's there and that it's awake.
It doesn't know whether we're in danger or not. So
Are we just aware of presence, or do we?
Just presence at this point.
Okay,
Yep.
so we don't really know anything.
No.
Okay.
It's just you kind of like, because remember when you were in there, I told you it felt like it was asleep.
Yes.
The moment that you passed through that doorway, it woke up.
Okay.
Sort of not suppressing it because I'm not that aware of it, but just kind of like pushing it down. Like that's
It's about as down as far as it's going to be right now.
yeah. But putting it out of my conscious mind, I guess, would be the better way to put it.
You find that extremely difficult.
Okay.
Like,
hey, what's up?
like you just try to like, hey yo.
Right. You see that exit over there?
Hey buddy.
Nice try.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. it's Navi. Hey, listen.
Hey,
Hey,
over here.
you know what you need in this
Look.
dungeon? A map. Hey, I sense treasure.
listen.
So, yeah, you can. He's just sort of there, and do you see if you're pushing him away? Then you're not sure what he's doing. At that point, the more you push him away, the less you can sense what he's trying to accomplish.
It's like, I guess the only sense that I have it's more irritation than anything else. Like, don't stop bothering me right now.
The other thing you realize is around your neck is a scarf. Now, the one thing that you were told when you're brought over to the room is not to let go of the object that you have. To always make sure that it's on your person, because it's the one thing keeping that other part of you from taking over.
I was not told this, was I? Or
No, not yet.
Yeah.
You were
No,
unconscious.
no, you're unconscious.
Yeah.
So you're all eating in silence.
I've thrown the scarf back, so it's not in the way of the food, at least.
So at this point, so you do see that he's woken up and that Corbin's sort of talking to him, but you've kind of had food in your mouth this whole time. And at this point, you're kind of feeling like your stomach is a little more sated. Although you have noticed that you'll eat a bunch, then your stomach will feel sated, and then you'll feel hungry again. But you're really not sure how much more room you have if it continues to be hungry. Thankfully, your body doesn't look like it's emaciated or anything like that. It's just, it seems to be more your body's response to it. And you have a feeling you probably don't need all this food, but your body's just going to take a while to get sort of reacclimated. What have all of you, like, I'm assuming eating has been your main priority. Is there anything else that you've been sort of looking around at or doing while you've been sitting there eating? I'm assuming not a whole lot of talking has been going on, just because there's someone else in the room to listen. But is there anything else you guys wanted to do while you were in the room? And it only has been, at this point, maybe 15 minutes. So,
Well, I just look around,
okay.
try and figure out where we might be.
Why don't you throw me a perception check?
Oh wait, let me see what I have to add. A lot. I forgot. This is very exciting.
Make sure you're not using your evil version stats, though.
No, that would be monstrous. I would just be like, why am I even rolling, Jamin? Even if I roll a 1, I see all the things.
You do feel a sense as you're sort of searching, or you were searching around, that some part of you was more than happy to help.
Yeah, I don't need your help. 22.
22. So, in addition to everything that I told him, you have a feeling that the wall right nearby, where the sort of fancy man is eating, right behind him, you can see that the bricks, a couple of the bricks look like they're like sliced in half. Like there's almost like a very, very, very thin line through them, and you can mostly make it out because there's a little bit of moisture that's sort of gathering in that point. But it's fairly well hidden. But yeah, you can kind of make out there's definitely like a door right behind
So
him
he's
that's just sort of,
probably guarding the exit. Or an exit.
or either an exit or something of that nature. But
Hidden
yes,
door.
definitely.
Or maybe it's his escape route if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Could be.
You don't see any way to activate it, but that's just because
Probably
you're
like a
too far
push
away.
or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
You assume that if you were able to get a little closer, you might be able to find it then. Outside of that, it's pretty much the same things as I said to him. The stuff that they're talking about in the other room, you can kind of hear, and it sounds like it's two other men that are talking to one another, and they're talking in, you're not sure what language, but you assume it's Dwarven.
Okay.
You've heard Dwarven in the city before, and it sounds very similar, like kind of very guttural and has a thick accent to it, and very like
Copper.
and it sounds like someone talking in stone.
Yeah.
And so they're having some conversation there, but it sounds more conversational, not like in hushed secrets or anything, but more them, because there's laughter that comes and things like that. And you also hear in the other room this woman humming. but it's
Specific
just sort of
tune?
more like it sounds more like an airy tune. Like it's sort of like a little more high pitched as it goes through. But yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, everything is just as I said to him.
Okay.
So I'm still in hyper paranoid mode. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to be looking over everything. So I'm sure you're going to make me roll perception, but just to let you know, I am then going to do sense motive on the guy who we don't know his name, but who's sitting there with us.
Okay. Well, let's start, first of all, Bane is sort of on the bench nearby you.
Oh yeah, I was going to bring up Bane. I just figured we'd start here. And
Well, I want to let you know where they are, really
Okay.
quick. So Bane's there, and Nikita originally was sitting next to you, and then Bane kept coming in and sort of pushing Nikita aside, but you finally took him on and put him on your lap.
Oh, I kind of assumed I would have kept Nikita on my lap because I was going to do like a bite of food to me, a bite of food to her, him.
Right.
Sorry. Because,
Even you're doing it. No, I was kidding.
You know,
Yeah.
because he was all emaciated, and I'm very worried about Nikita. Bane, I assume I like put some food down and he can feed himself, right? He's cool.
Yeah, but he's just sort of, or she seems to want to be more like aggressively close. Bane was a girl. Nikita was the dude.
Yeah. Fox boy.
The cat was a
Cat
girl. Okay.
girl.
Yeah.
Bane sounds like a masculine name.
I know it does. Nikita sounds like a feminine name, so it works.
You're just screwing with me now. All right, let's start with perception.
Oh, could you hand me my iPad? Thank you.
12.
Okay. Yeah. Same thing as what he saw. So
Okay.
nothing.
So sense motive on whatever the guy is. Hold on. 18.
It's actually off the screen, but it was a.
No.
So you're.
Oh, was it? It was 15 plus 3.
Yeah.
It's okay. So you're not really getting a whole lot of reading from him. Just that he's reading. Although there is a certain point, because I'm assuming you keep looking at him. You get the feeling that he's probably like knows that you're looking at him, because at one point you look at him and there's just a sort of little tiny bit in the corner of his eye that seems sad, and then the next time you look at him he seems angry, and then he seems a little insane, and then he seems a little happy, and then the next time you look up at him he just kind of looks at you and winks.
I'm gonna stop looking at him every
He's just like, what? It's a good book.
That's it. I'm gonna stop sensing motive at the wink. Alright, so after
But the one thing you are going to get with that sense motive is that
Okay.
he does seem to have a very fine control of his facial expressions. Like that was a show for you, but in that you did kind of learn that he is very good at controlling his face and his facial expressions.
Gotcha. That's important. Okay, so after I've done this, and like kind of as I'm eating, so that's
At this point, Parno, you see him waking up and Corwin talking to him, and then they're sort of eating because you're finishing up within your mouth.
Okay.
So
no, I at this point, I would totally eat with my mouth full.
eat with your mouth full?
Yeah.
Most people do eat with their mouth full. It would be hard to eat.
Speak with my mouth full. Sorry.
It's okay.
So, Bane is what, next to me, to the right or so?
Now, when you talk, is it going to be in hushed tones? Or do you even care?
Yeah, I'm gonna say hush tones.
Okay.
Ish.
All right. You don't have to talk in hushed tones, but I just
Right,
want
I
to
know. Right,
Okay.
I got that. So, babe, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to, take a few bites, okay? But then walk around, see if anything is weird in the room. Be safe, not safe. Come on, Ben, go investigate. Be a good kitty.
It's just looking. She's just looking at you.
Ben, why are you such a bastard?
And suddenly you do sort of
Parno
feel
says
like
cat.
almost a reserved within you sort of part like kind of allows the order, and you see that Bane gets up and begins looking around.
Is that your familiar? You thought the cat belonged to you?
So,
And you
Bane, if you see anything good, meow.
Bane will meow.
Bane like kind of shrugs.
I'm just trying to think like how much through the cat both sides, like her other side's been messing with me and my other side. Like that's probably just, like the cat has probably just been a vehicle for so much of like interpersonal
Like
politics.
you, they weren't able to see what was going on,
Okay.
but the cat has more of her other half's personality.
Okay, so it's more of a personality then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking that'd be pretty.
Yep.
I mean, it's a cat.
Right, but as a vehicle for.
It was.
Of a
kinda.
sort, yes, but
Yeah.
it still has its own free will and its own like kind of
Okay.
mind. It just has its personality is close to its owner.
And if
So.
it's, cat's kind of a jerk, they probably do, definitely.
So as I'm eating, I'm just like watching Bane.
Okay. Bane does occasionally like go up to the side of the wall. Like there's points at which goes up to the wall and like licks some of the water just to see. Just go like that.
Not gonna be watching myself for a while.
Goes over, and when he gets over to the man, you do see that like he kind of like reaches over and reaches out to pet, and Bane just goes. She just starts hissing. He just kind of shrugs and kind of goes back, and then you see that Bane just sort of takes a step closer. Really? He's just sort of looking down, and then he reaches out, and then like Bane starts rubbing up against his hand in this really sort of semi-weird, like kind of purring way.
Like a cat. How's that weird?
Yeah, but it's more like you don't know what to place, but there's something a little odd about it. A little too human in its movements.
Okay.
So, but that's Bane. Bane doesn't seem to be doing her job at all. Just going around and testing things and seeing what things feel like and look like and rubbing up against walls and.
It's kind of a cat equivalent.
Yeah. I don't expect
This is
Bane
scratchy. This isn't scratchy.
to actually listen to me. I just like talking to her. That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So is that all you're doing then? All right.
Yeah. I don't want to waste my.
Okay. Remember that any of the 0 level spells aren't wasted. You can keep using them all day long.
Oh well, hold on. I'm gonna detect magic.
Okay. I figured that's why you were holding it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those you can use on a constant basis.
Oh well,
So,
my apologies for misunderstanding that.
and actually, if you go down to nope, you don't have to do the spell tab. Go back to in play because I'm going to show you how because you can do everything at this point from in play. So go down to the very bottom where there's the here. Sorry, everyone. Learning moment. So here, if you move this up, you'll be able to see all of your spells on the bottom there. And then you can actually select it and it'll give you the whole thing.
Because on the other screen it says 0 of 1, so that's why I thought I only had 1 use.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I detect magic. For sure. I gotta roll something, don't
Nope. Well, spellcraft check for some things, but so as you're looking through in the room, nothing on the table is magical.
Okay.
There is magic going through the walls. That's now you need to roll spellcraft. Spellcraft will allow you to, as you concentrate on things, to be able to see what school they're from. So it won't tell you what the spell is, but it'll tell you generally the type of magic it is.
Okay. So, is that...
It's kind of cocked. Try it again.
I gotta have
Curse you,
I gotta
cheese
have you
pieces.
remake without the little pieces
I know.
sticking up.
They're called cheese because they look like cheese wedges.
Oh.
27?
27. All right.
Yeah.
So there's actually 2 different auras that you're sort of sensing.
Okay.
And it's weird because you're looking at them and you're seeing different colors, and in your brain it's almost like that there's abjuration magics and divination magics on the wall. Now abjuration is protection, so there's some sort of protection spells, and divination is pretty obvious. Sort of detect, and you're not sure what they are, but the abjuration magic definitely seems a little stronger, whereas the divination seems like a more simple, sort of a weaker spell. So that's that. You also see on the man sort of sitting there, he has a number of objects on his person that are magical. But more importantly, you're also getting some sort of, like, as you're concentrating more on him, you're getting more of a sense of what he is, in a way. it's strange. Like it's almost like because you've read about detect magic and you've seen that you can detect magic and detect things of that nature, but you're not just seeing magic, but more of his innate magic within him and what he is capable of doing to an extent.
I want
And
that.
remember, that's the feat that you took. You recall that, right, Grizzly? The feat. Okay.
Yeah.
Give me
Sorry.
another spellcraft check.
I want that. It'd make it easier for me to steal the stuff.
I actually thought you were talking to him because he just spoke. And
Oh.
I
No,
was
I was
like,
talking to
oh,
you.
you took it too.
No, I was talking to you the
Sorry.
whole time.
This was spellcraft
16.
again, yeah? So, 25.
Okay. You don't know exactly the strength that he is, but you know that he is at least in part a bard. And you sense similarities between him and what you see in Parno as well. What's odd though is now that you're kind of seeing the similarities and you're looking at him, you can see that there's Parno, and you see that similarity, but then there's also Parno. And whatever that is, that's it's almost like in the background, right? It's deep within, but you can still make it out there. And that seems to be the same sort of general aura, but far, far stronger.
So if I look at her,
There's nothing there.
there's okay.
The reason why is because you can see if people have magical classes and they're spellcasters and things like that.
Pure
and
murder.
she's pure murder.
Okay.
One thing.
But since Mishka's not going to know that, I would totally turn to
Right,
look
and
for
there's
her
just
and be
nothing
like,
there.
All
Yep.
right. Alrighty.
But that's what I'm saying is because you know there's nothing there, you get the sense that what you're seeing is their spellcasting ability. And you're not sure why Bard came to mind, but it's just something about the way it swirled, the way it moved, almost as though there was training at some point that taught you that fact, that you just know.
Okay. Okey-dokey. That's everything. I've exhausted my
Now-
skills.
One thing you are noticing with Parno is that what you're seeing of this image and this image is it's almost like the image that is Parno of that spellcasting. It's like an imperfect copy.
Okay.
And it's like everything was drawn from this one and made into a copied form, and because of that there's almost a bit of an inherent weakness to it. Like at any moment the main could just absorb the copy back into itself.
So you mean the
So what is
Copy.
Parno? You know, the one that's out in front is a copy,
is the copy? Okay.
and the one that's in the back is sort of the is far more real,
Gotcha.
More whole.
more whole. Yeah. All right. So you're sitting there and you're eating, and you notice that Corwin has a lot of pits and pieces of fruit in front of him, but he doesn't have any bones, anything like that. It's just fruit and vegetable bits.
I won't comment on it.
Well, you don't know about
Right. No, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm actually more concerned about the group as a whole.
Okay.
So
Are you going to kind of look over each of them?
yeah.
I saw him barfing up humans.
Corwin.
Well, I just threw up too. So.
Oh, true, yeah.
Corwin seems to be sitting straight, but he's it's like he's trying to be protective, but you can tell that he's terrified. It's almost like in a way it's like the Corwin that you remember from when you were younger. The very scared Corwin, the bullied Corwin, it's a lot of that's on his face. Yeah, you feel like a lot of his confidence is waning and dripping away right now. Mishka seems to be in paranoia mode.
You think?
But it's
Keeps
also
looking at that guy over there.
but it's reminding you a lot of what she was like when she first came to the academy. And then Christiana seems to be a lot more like her shoulders are slumped. She's a lot more withdrawn. She's kind of hiding and staying in the shadowy portion of the bench. Am I right here in this? I mean,
Yeah, but I'm also
she's looking around,
paying
but
more attention.
right.
Yeah, I guess still sleuthily, hiding, but
But there is. What I'm saying is it's more like because remember when you first
withdrawn.
arrived,
Yeah, withdrawn.
Yeah.
Definitely withdrawn.
and it's almost like in a way you kind of feel like everyone has sort of, in tiny bits, maybe not even consciously, has been reverting back to sort of like this sort of how you were back then.
between actually, when I'm switching from meats to over to one of the breads, I'll ask it. So, how is everyone?
That is a loaded question.
Is that-
That's Corwin.
Oh. I mean, right now.
Hungry. And you see, he looks at the meats, and he just kind of pulls his eyes away, like he just kind of shudders a bit. You took the worst of it of all of us.
I'll look at my hand. Potion? Do they give us a potion?
They mended it. Not a potion, though. One of the men in the other room, big mustache, came in and took care of it. Set it and healed it. Said there would always be a scar, though.
Well, that can be hidden if need be.
And you do realize that, like, he's not hiding it, but he's pretty obvious that he's kind of turning his head a little bit and trying to listen, that the man sitting at the table is kind of listening to your conversation. Which may also be the reason why no one's been talking so far.
Right. I'll actually turn to him. First I'll see if the other two have any response to the question.
Krista had a moment post
Yeah, I'm sorry.
flu
We'll just
recovery.
bring that down there for in case.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, this is my response.
What's the question?
What are you who are you looking at?
Yeah.
Her? Okay.
so how is everyone right now?
Hungry would be accurate. Confused. Yeah.
Watched.
Okay.
Well,
You hear a bit of a snicker coming.
I kind of turn towards the guy sitting and reading and say, perhaps speculative about the future?
And kind of looks over at you. Was that directed at me?
Well, I was asking how everyone was.
Oh, myself included. How kind of you.
I'll actually get up and go over and hold out a hand. Parno.
Dunois. Pleasure to meet you.
Denois.
Yes. You want to sit? This table can be far more talkative than the one you're currently at.
Want to join? We could move the table over.
To be honest,
Join us.
I would prefer not to. I'm not certain which Parno I'll get.
There's really only one.
I wish that were the case. You seem like a good enough lad, but unfortunately you know the circumstances.
I've been told the circumstances. I'm hoping to learn a little more.
Well, seeing as how your friends did not fill you in, the scarf that you have around your neck, for now make certain that you do not lose it. Otherwise, who you currently are will begin drifting back to who you were.
He's kind of still smiling, still in the nice to meet you, and he says, so like the ring.
No. The ring kept you. The scarf, I'm not certain of its particulars. You would have to speak with Viola on that one. But I do know that the scarf, it brings down the barriers. I can't explain what that means, but she's explained it that the two parts of you, it brings down that barrier and allows you the possibility of being more real. It gives you more room in which to exist.
Interesting. So what is the plan?
Ah, the plan. Well, the current
There
plan.
seems to be one.
The current plan.
Question real quick.
Yes.
Am I sitting close enough that I could be eavesdropping on this conversation?
You're hearing the
Yeah,
whole
we're
thing.
like right next to him.
They're not talking in hushed tones.
No,
They're
no.
talking right out loud.
Okay, I assumed so, but I wanted to make
No.
sure.
This is
Perfectly
a
fine.
Bardoff,
Okay.
kind of.
Yeah. Well, the current plan is for me to keep an eye on you to make certain that you do not suddenly burst into your other self, and that if you do, we have precautions.
What do you mean precaution.
The harmony.
Sorry.
You can interject.
Yeah,
I'm
you can
listening.
interject.
No, I didn't have.
Oh, in character. Sorry, in accent.
What are these precautions you talk about?
Well, if I told you the precautions, then the other part of you that is also listening right now would know of these precautions, which means they would no longer be precautions.
Touche.
Music.
Ah,
The pocket
Goltian.
orchestra.
What?
Sorry, touche. It's a gold term. Never mind.
Oh, I did not even know this. I hear it at school. I learned this.
So you have the music box.
The music box isn't the only precaution. And you seem to be far more curious than I would have hoped.
It's pretty much nothing.
We've been told that there is this harmony machine that created this issue in the first place, shall we say? And Viola indicated that a music box could fix it.
Yes.
Leads me to believe they may be the same thing.
I cannot discuss it at the moment.
Related sciences, perhaps.
I would prefer not to discuss it. Maybe we could talk about other things, other than what I can use to stop the other half of you. Because I'd really rather not get into that conversation at the moment, and I'm sure you can understand my reasoning for it.
Understandable.
Although I do offer you this warning. Because the walls are down at this moment, I want to get this right. Because of the fact that the walls are down at the moment, it will be very easy for you to draw upon the great well of power, experience, and knowledge that lies within you. From what I understand, each of you already has done so to some extent. It would be in your best interest not to continue that effort. Though be careful, because I'm certain that the other portion of you is going to attempt to tempt you in that direction. Just put it out of your mind. But the more you give in to that half, the more you will become that half.
And maybe you tell us this just to try to keep us under control.
No, I do so because I do not wish to die this day.
Mishka would actually laugh at this.
It is
not
only
really
but the truth.
Far off.
I am not certain, but I watched as she was amongst all those people earlier, and while I'm certain I could take all four of you at the moment, I am fairly certain I would die in the face of any one of you should that arise. And I just don't feel like dying today.
Today is
You
not
know,
the day.
this is fair
What
point.
do we say in the face of death or whatever?
Not today.
Because I see them too.
Assuming all this is true, wouldn't it be better not to put us in a stressful situation or confine us or keep us
Define
in
a
the
stressful
dark?
situation. I find this to be quite calm. I mean, you have food, you have candlelight. Do you need music?
No. No, I was thinking ignorance is more what I was...
Ah, but that is such bliss.
I already hate this guy.
I actually like it a lot.
I can't handle two of this. I really can't.
But I do not. We're not attempting to put undue stress upon you. And believe me, once Viola arrives, she'll be able to better explain the situation. But for the moment, this is just how it must be. If you are full, there are other things that we could do, if that is what you like.
Parnell's actually leaning over to look at the book title.
You kind of look over it, and it looks as though it's not a book that he's looking at, but different notes, and they seem to be in some sort of... some portion of your brain knows that it's a cipher.
Where is Viola?
Viola is dealing with other business at the moment.
She's not here. She left.
You hear an explosion coming from past the doorway, and you see he just sort of looks up. If you could just wait here but a moment. And he goes running out the door.
So, oh wait, no, I probably shouldn't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know where a door is.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to try to go up and look at it?
I want to, but that sounds like it might be bad.
Did you leave the book?
It's up to you.
I know. This just
Oh, I wanted to tell you. Remember how your alignment changed last time? Put yourself back to the lawful.
Okay.
But also know that you're back to normal on
Right.
that one. And that's what's going to happen is each time you'll go sort of to it, and then you'll lose a portion of yourself, and then it'll reset back. But, until it never resets again.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm afraid of. But it's not inherently
No, that's not necessarily. I mean, right now,
I don't know
they're
who these people
criminals.
are.
They're obviously criminals.
Right,
So.
I don't know who these people are.
Even if everything they said is absolutely true, they're harboring mass murderers. So
That is also true.
And being curious isn't necessarily chaotic.
No. So yeah,
All right.
I'm gonna go inspect the door.
Why don't you give me one more perception check? You can, because you had seen the door before. I'll give you a +4 to your roll.
That's another 22 plus 4, 26.
26. It's above the 25. Yeah, you find it's not necessarily just a thing that you have to push.
Mm-hmm.
Like you find one that you have to push,
Mm-hmm.
but you realize that it's not only this one, but there's another one on the other side of the door that you push. And once they're pushed at the same time, the door kind of moves backwards and begins kind of, making a grinding sound as it opens.
What are you doing?
Found a door.
he didn't leave the book, did he?
Actually, yeah, the papers are right there.
I'll pick them up.
Okay.
I'm kind of.
Are you looking over them?
Yeah, I'm going to the.
It looks like complete gibberish to you.
First page and last page is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's all gibberish without you knowing what, like, you might be able to take time to sort of figure out the cipher, but without knowing what the code would be or anything like that. But here's the strange thing of it. It doesn't look like one cipher. In fact, on almost like in different paragraphs and different points, it's different ciphers.
It's a mutating cipher?
Yeah.
Possibly
Jamin,
based on the
this
page
is
number or something like that.
Maybe,
Do I increase the number or decrease the number?
You decrease the number, so you want to bring it down to a 3.
Okay, and that was under the good, right?
No, that's under lawful chaos.
Oh, okay.
Because you're neutral. Remember you were lawful neutral?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as it kind of grates past, the thing that you see right directly beyond that are steel bars.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And it looks as though it's a room with multiple other rooms in the back of it and another table off to the side. And each of those rooms have bars and a barred door on it. And directly in front of you, beyond those bars, you see Lambert sort of sitting up against the back of the door and just kind of looks up. It's like, Christiana? He just sort of looks at you. What? How am I? What are you doing? Have you come to rescue me?
we all just look at each other.
Can we hear this?
Oh yeah. And I'm assuming you, because you were
assuming
talking
you're
to her, so I'm assuming you walked up behind.
No, I was sitting down and calling after her because I don't know.
You
that
were
I
already
trust
standing
her.
there, so you would see. But
All
yeah,
of a
you
sudden
hear
I went
Lambert's
to a
voice.
wall
Okay,
and made a door.
So now I want to. Yeah, but I don't know that
Oh,
I
yeah,
trust
Lambert, you're
So I'm
lovely
gonna
Lambert.
run up when I hear Lambert's voice. So like by the door, right?
What the hell are you doing here? You bashed me against the wall, you asshole.
You see he's gotten up and he comes up to the bars and he goes, "What?
You bashed me against the wall.
Are you Jamaican, Naman?"
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've been
Okay.
sick. All right.
No, it's okay.
I'm
It's okay.
trying.
But I had to. I couldn't resist
Yeah.
it. I just couldn't.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I
I'm
thought
sorry.
the same thing.
You're doing great. It was my own
No, clearly
my
I'm
own
not.
my own inability to resist. I didn't do any such thing. We were walking through the streets and suddenly I blacked out.
No, I blacked out first because you bashed me against the wall.
It's a competition.
Well, you do remember that he looked glazed over, like something was controlling him. So
I saw that too as well.
no, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that
that's
was
right.
before I went.
That was right before you went.
Because I was actually fighting with Lambert.
Yep,
He was
Right.
winning
that's right.
because
But
he's
wasn't
there.
it Corwin?
No,
No,
Corwin was
Corwin
the Hell Knight.
He was in
Right,
the
I
very
know.
middle.
Wasn't Corwin the one that like kind of looked at him and kind of went,
Of a sort. We'll get
Yeah,
to that.
right.
But yeah.
technically.
Look,
Mishka, he was under someone else's control, I'm pretty sure.
all I know is these strange people have now been bringing me food on occasion, and we gotta get out of here.
You knew too much,
I agree.
Lambert. That's why you're here. He's holding the pages in front of him, but not really seeing them. It's just there's too many threads here. And
Okay, look, could you guys explain to me exactly what's going on? Are you here to rescue me or not?
We had no idea. We ended up here ourselves.
Yeah,
What-
maybe you could rescue us.
Ah, I see you found the door.
Yes.
This is coming from behind you. If you would do me a kind favor and step back from the doorway and return to the table, I would greatly appreciate it. And you see his hand is on his weapon.
Why is
But
Lambert here?
right.
I will tell you what.
Cat.
I will
not
answer
that thing,
questions
didn't you?
from the table.
your friend?
Unfortunately, your friend is going to have to remain behind bars for a moment. What do you mean I'm going to have to remain behind bars?
For your own safety, I'm sure, Lambert.
While you're also are you backing away?
Mm-hmm.
While you're backing away, you can see the jail cell to the left, that there's some sort of like grayish-looking hand holding onto the bar. And it seems to almost have like claws kind of coming off of it, and you can see the hand just sort of letting go of the bar and slinking back away.
Gross. I'm gonna back away.
Please, if you would do me the kindness, and he takes the papers out of your hand, of sitting at the table, and stop looking at secret notes. You may not understand what they say, but another part of you may have a better chance of deciphering them.
He just has a lopsided smile, shrugs in concession, and walks over back to the
Goes
table.
up, pushes the two things, door closes. But wait! I want to just... Can I have an advocate? I wish I had all of the answers that you seek. Oh, by the way, you notice there's a bunch of soot on his face? But at the moment, unfortunately, I am not the person to give them to you.
Who is the person to give them to us?
Viola, upon her return. As far as Lambert is concerned, at the moment he's being held for his own safety.
What happened out there?
What I understand and what I know comes in certain regards secondhand. I've known Viola for quite some time, mostly back in my Taldorn days.
I mean, why are you full of soot?
Oh, the soot. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the accent. It totally threw me off. He grabs like a napkin and starts wiping off. Small accident in the lab. Nothing to worry yourself over.
Okay, now you go back to other story. Hey man, you started it.
Man.
Yeah, I would just refrain from saying the word man for the next couple of hours.
All right. He takes the chair. He pulls it up to the table.
Story time.
I have not very much to offer you, but I've worked with Viola in the past. Mostly, I began working with Viola after she had left her father and grandfather. At that time, she was a little bit, to say insane would be an understatement. But I helped her to find a variety of different alchemists and doctors and different people to help her to figure out what had happened to her. I don't know a terrible amount of those sorts of things. I just happen to have a lot of contacts. There's not much more to tell, other than the fact that, I mean, there's probably already the things you know, that Wassenberg Academy has going about and kidnapped you, and has been also finding various different people in positions of power throughout the city, and has been altering them. It is not to say necessarily that they're changed. In fact, for the most part, to others, they seem as though they're better. Good people. Things of that nature. But it turns out that what they do is they take those darker portions and they leave them as a seed underlying and waiting. And then at any moment when they desire to or need to, they can awaken that seed. It's not quite the same as you. You have two separate personalities. For them, it is only but a momentary thing, something they don't remember. But it's enough that you can remove a person from a prison, or to
Like Lambert.
make a vote. The majority of the controlling members of the city at this point are controlled by the Wassenberg Academy. In addition to that, members of the Pathfinders, as well as the Arcanorum, are also. Those who were not controlled by Wassenberg were sent away on various different errands, things throughout the world, chaos that was caused by your not being part of it.
You lost me on that part.
Is this why Absalom is so safe?
For the most part, we're still not exactly certain of the overall plan of the trustees. We just happen to know that Absalom plays a large role in it. And whatever is going to happen within the next 24 hours. And we believe that they are making a play to take Absalom, just not how or in what way.
So, why do we have anything to do with...
Ah, that's what you meant as far as what the... Okay. So you know how for the past 4 years things have been happening throughout the world. Earthquakes in Varisia, the destruction of Keonan, the wound expanding. Each of you, as I understand it, was kidnapped by Viola and taken away from...
Kidnapped?
Yes,
Rescued.
kidnapped. If anything had happened, unfortunately it was Viola's other half. She has one similar to each of you. That much I know, because I was there with her and watched as she fought against it and tried to figure out ways to bring herself back. I believe that the only reason that she wasn't fully affected by it may have had something to do with her ex-husband. And the fact that she had given birth to an elven child. Well, half-elven.
Right.
And keep in mind, the two of you don't know that Hamish...
Right.
Oh, I thought you knew.
Nope, she's the only
I
one
know.
who is in that room, and Corwin.
Oh, okay,
So,
sorry.
only ones who know about that.
Words.
For some reason, Elvish blood, it seems to mess with the device's capabilities of altering and makes it so that the memories don't quite... the wall between the memories doesn't remain. It makes it far more difficult to maintain. I don't understand it. Like I said, I'm not the one to ask for particulars. But I do know this other part of her was the one who went about doing this, and the most that is known is that you were taken away. I don't know if she remembers or knows anything about what exactly happened then, but yes, each of you was taken away because of the fact that by removing you from your lives as they were to be, they also removed you from the fate that you were meant to fulfill. And by not fulfilling it, dark things happen within the world. You... One moment. He leaves the room.
He tells a good story.
Maybe.
No, it's a good story, regardless.
Yes, okay, it is a good story regardless, whether or not this is...
He comes back in again, and he hands you a paper. These are the reports that have come from Varisia. Now, supposedly, some sort of a creature, something that goes beyond, something from within the void, awoke. It was one of the first things that happened. It wasn't merely an earthquake, but an awakening, and a cult that began rising with it. In addition, it seems as though a number of Thessalonians, well, a Thessalonian in particular, but that cult, that idea began also rebuilding again in Caer Magna, a city in Varisia. You've heard of it. It's like this underground, dark city. You've only read it in like various different stories, but it's just always known as sort of the underground city. You were meant to stop that from happening. Hands you a paper. In the city of Westmarch, once the capital of Cheliax, but then removed, an uprising began within there. This uprising seemed to be a form of rebellion, but was in fact led by some child, a child of Mammon, he was called. Mammon being one of the other devil lords. Because of this, he fought against them, and Mammon now rules over Cheliax. You were meant to stop this child from ever beginning his revolution. Hands you a paper.
You say paper, you mean like newspaper?
No, it's like a piece of paper, and it has on it a
Report.
report. Like it's a report that, like, it looks like someone wrote a report, like notes on like spy reports.
Oh, okay.
And it just has like location and then information there, and most of it's very bland. It's not like story told like him, but it's just very like, different people, different reports on history and things that have happened, but also underneath that is a report of what should have happened, or what's believed to have what was believed to have happened.
Is there any identifying marks, like this is a Pathfinder report, or it's a blah 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 report, or anything?
None that you recognize.
Okay.
Wait, do you have knowledge and ability? I believe you do.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Hold on.
But how are we
I like how even
supposed to-
passively you're still gathering more information about just like everything.
But I don't understand how we were supposed to stop something. Like what was the time frame? When did these things happen?
Well, you were supposed to have stopped with him within the past 4 years, and as you've noticed, everything has been cascaded.
Oh, okay. So sorry. Elise didn't know the time frame, so.
Yep.
So-
16.
16 total. The marking looks Taldoran.
Okay.
So 15 years ago, whatever this organization was, if just to recap here, so 15 years ago, whatever this organization was, they
And
decided
by the way, it's a
to
watermark that's in the paper that you're seeing.
they decided to find linchpins in the hinges upon which the world was turning,
Yes.
pull them out for events that were not to happen for another 11 years.
Yes.
How would they get that foresight?
That is a wonderful question, and one on which we have no answer. And the only reason we even know that that's the case is because of the fact that Viola happened to realize that in her time being with them. But that's as much as she was able to realize. How they were able to accomplish it, to what end, unknown.
I thought prophecy was supposed to be broken. How would they prophesy?
How are you certain that they are not the ones that broke it?
100 years ago? It was 100 years, right? Or was there more than that?
The machine was found, that it was used against you, was found 150 years ago. Her grandfather is over 110 years old.
Vankov.
Yes. How he has lived this long, that I am not certain.
Cussedness.
And actually,
Sheer
as you say
cussedness.
his name again, you're starting to see images of his face. And you're again seeing yourself in this chair with him hovering over you. And you're seeing yourself there a lot. And as he says the name out loud, as that name is spoken, each of you begin seeing this. Like you're sitting in a chair with leather straps around your arms and across your waist and something keeping your head in place. And you kind of hear his voice, but it's almost like all the images of it are just overlaying one on top of the other.
He's kind of staring in memory for a moment, and eyes are hooded.
What the purpose of this chaos is, we don't know. I mean, it seems as though that's all it is to sow chaos, because all of these different things all at once are going to mean potentially the end of all things.
Well, if they're trying to take over Absalom, they no doubt have a plan.
True, but we figure that that's just the fact that they've taken over already most of the different positions. The chaos has pulled people out, but what purpose does holding Absalom hold in the longer term plan?
Absalom becomes new capital. They are saviors of the world, and everybody is okay because they save them.
I highly doubt that's what's going to be coming.
He's just guessing.
But it is a good thought. It is
Of
an
course it
excellent
is.
thought.
I had it.
But you also have to keep in mind, simply walking in and saving everything is not going to be quite so simple. The world wound, closing that up, how would you do such a thing? No one has been able to. The Mendevian crusade failed. Your own people, and he points to the paper you have in front of you. The eternal winter is spreading. And the queen, one who, as I understood it, was only supposed to rule for 100 years, and 4 years ago was supposed to stop ruling, still continues to rule.
Hear that? I think you're royalty.
What is?
I never said she was royalty,
Queen.
only that she was supposed to stop it.
No, just making some logical assumptions. We're all
Maybe-
very important players in this, right?
Maybe I am sneaky assassin. I was supposed to.
Keep in mind, Parno, that the most important people in this world aren't the ones who stand out in the foreground. Many times they are far more simple people
Or
Like
subtle.
me. I'm very important.
that just happen to desire to stand up for what is right. And that is all. In fact, I have learned that most nobles and people in places of power tend to do more bad than good.
They are the villains in an awful lot of stories.
Occasionally they're the hero.
usually that comes after the nobility part comes after the heroics, though.
That is an excellent observation.
Sorry, just kidding. What's your Batman?
Thanks for
What is
pulling us
your-
right out of that
Sorry.
whole thing. Okay. But regardless, yes. You were meant to stop each of these things from happening. Corwin kind of looks up. What about me? And he takes the paper and he just kind of looks at it and hands it to him.
You voguing?
No, I folded up the paper
Oh.
and shoved it down
Yep.
my shirt while
dear.
he was busy to
Dear.
make sure that he didn't ask for it
Oh.
back.
Yeah, dear, I'm going to need that back.
That's not fair, because the only reason you know I did that is because she asked.
When he would have asked for them back, you would have had to eventually tell me about them anyways.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And by the way, you still have to tell the game master you're doing stuff. You can't just pretend you're doing it and not tell me.
Eventually, I would have told you.
Because here's the deal. If you don't tell me you did it, you didn't do it.
I know. I would have told you eventually.
Eventually doesn't cut it.
So, anyways,
Anyways,
I still have my paper.
so Corwin's looking at his, and his face goes white, and he kind of just, he knows you're curious, so he hands it to you.
Yeah.
And you see that's a report from the World Wound.
I hold it up for the group to see.
It's just basically, like I said, it's basically he was meant to stop the whirlwind from like expanding.
So Corwin is most important. Interesting.
Each of you is important. Each of you is a necessity in maintaining whatever this is. I have seen, in all of my years, and all that I have seen nothing like this. It is like the most perfect of storms to come across. I would love to know what method they used in figuring all these things out. It would make my job so much easier.
What is your job? I mean, besides babysitting us.
Well, that's mainly what I do.
Lucky you.
Oh, that's not a bad job.
Trying to think.
Of course not. You are in our presence.
You may want to be careful about letting the other part of you out. Oh, I'm sorry, that's just you.
Oh, hold on. Let me find. Oh.
Well, if there are no other questions, and I believe you have about as much information as I wish to offer,
That's fair.
he starts taking the papers back.
I hand mine back.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I have spent most of my life dealing with people that are far more subtle than you are.
Who said I was trying to be subtle?
Return the paper to me.
I
If you ever desire any more information from me, you will work with me rather than against me. Is that clear? No, this is not a time for discussion. This is not a time for discussion. I do not work with people who decide to treat me as such a lowly servant to them. If you continue to act in this manner, believe me, I will not work for you. And at this point in time, believe me when I tell you this, that we all are. We are all working to restore you to potentially what you should have been. And if you wish to continue to act like a small and ingrate child, please be my guest, because I will show you the next cage that you can stay in, and I will help the other three. Do we make ourselves clear?
You talk about working for me.
Do
but
not!
I am being kept here against my will.
Would you like to go? You're more than free to. In fact, you know what? Here, there's the door. You can walk out right now, and all that will happen is you will be restored back to exactly what lies within you, and I believe that she would love to come back out again.
She didn't actually come out.
She's come out before.
Oh, has she? Okay.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. You guys have been sleeping most of the time. Right now, we are the only things that are keeping you in this world.
Right now.
You had a choice when you walked through that door whether you are working with us or you wanted to remain either a prisoner in your own mind or of any other sort. At this time, you are not a prisoner.
No, my choice.
I don't offer information to prisoners.
My choice was to stay in that room or come out.
Yes.
Of course I want to come
I
out.
am not the person who put you in the position where you had to make that choice in the first place. I am the person who is offering you a way to get out. And if you cannot see that, that is not my problem but yours.
I think we need to wait for Viola.
we are all working under the assumption that these fairy tales that they tell us is true.
We're working under the assumption that we need more information.
What more do you need? What do you need to see? Is it not enough that Christiana went through and killed, 20 of the token guard in mere seconds? Is it not enough to have seen that Corwin is one of the Hell Knights? Is it not enough to see what he... And he seems actually at that moment, you see, it's not like he loses control over his face, it's genuine fear, is capable of. You think this is some fairy tale, that this is just merely some story. It isn't. This is the reality that you have been forced, unfortunately, to live in. And while I do feel for you, I have no time, none, for your antics. If you desire to continue upon that path, that is fine. And if that's what you want to be, that is fine. But I have a job to do. And my job is to stop them from doing whatever it is they're doing. Even if the rest of the world doesn't even believe it's happening.
One question, not to antagonize or create division, but will Viola be back before this 24 hours?
Well, I certainly hope so.
That is enough. I will remain. And I'd ask that the three of you would hang with me, if only for Lambert's sake.
I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat some soup.
It's fine by me. Unfortunately, she's really trying hard not to. The teacher in her is like, oh, I've said a very similar thing most of the time. So she's taking that moment within herself, but obviously she made the decision. She was the first to make that decision.
Yeah.
So it's 24 hours. We know where the exits are. If they're lying, if we have this innate ability, we can get out. Why not, as ourselves, give us time?
I assure you, it is not merely an innate ability. It is another person. You need to get past this idea in your head that that ability that's within you, that power, that wasn't what allowed you to stop fate. That wasn't what allowed you to do whatever it is you did. It was merely the fact that you were good people in the right place. And unfortunately, your goodness has been separated and altered and fractured. And you're going to have to find a way back.
Mishka has just tucked her tail, sat back at the table, and is like eating nervously so as to avoid interacting with anybody.
And I will be frankly honest with you. This is Viola's plan to help you. My plan was to kill you. Because as far as I'm concerned, she seems to think that you can help all this, that you can change it back, that you can set things right. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing that I think that you'll be able to do is make it worse. But I'm willing to believe Viola because I've seen what changes have come to her. I just don't think you're necessarily going to set everything right. And I'm a humanist, so I have to give you at least one chance.
What does Lambert have to do with all of this? We each see that we have a role to play.
I suspect he saw too much.
That's a big part of it, yes. He has other roles to play in this, but I think Viola is also attempting to figure out a way to remove it from him as well. But I don't know that that's necessarily possible.
But was he one of the same people who was affected by...
He wasn't an orphan, was...
No, but every person who was a child within the academy
at least had the seed.
And Lambert has the seed. Okay. In that cell,
He did remember bash my head against the wall.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I will give you a moment of privacy. I'm going to go in the other room and calm myself down.
Mishka is still not making eye contact.
Alright, so he steps out and leaves.
Detect magic.
You're casting now. Alright. There's not much more than what she saw.
Okay.
So.
No, I just didn't know what she saw. So.
Okay. Obviously, you don't see any of the spellcasting stuff, but you see the magic aura that's around the room. The abjuration and the divination. Yeah.
Right. Divination can be eavesdropping.
Yeah, so it's probably not really a moment of privacy.
Right.
I have a quick question. So Mishka's obviously aware of their other sides because I saw her, I saw him and Corwin, and then of course I detect magic and saw.
Right.
I don't necessarily know it's his evil side that's there, right? But Mishka,
Oh no, you feel it there.
like I feel it there. I get that, but am I right to assume that Mishka does not necessarily know, as in from her own memory, that has ever come out?
We haven't gotten to that memory-wise of all the stuff that they did yet. So.
Right. Well, and the reason
in
I'm
fact,
asking is because the way I was interacting with Donwa was because I am playing that Mishka does not know.
Actively, you probably don't know.
Right.
Right.
Like, we actively know because we decided to go dark side.
Well,
But even so, the two of you still feel like your other halves are holding stuff back.
Right.
You're just getting the stuff in the middle.
Right, we have at least some momentary flashback of something that did actually happen recently.
Right.
Okay.
Well.
Okay. So I just wanted to check that before we continued, and I wanted to make
It's okay.
sure I was.
No, it's okay. It was
Some
fine.
of us more than others.
Okay.
I get it. You're untrusting at this point, but it's also it worked out fine. It even though the character was emotional, not Jamin. So don't worry.
No, I
Okay.
know that.
I thought it was a great scene.
Like Crystal Lee did not slink off. I would have slinked off.
No.
But
I thought it was a perfect scene.
Mishka
So it was
needed
good.
to hide a little bit.
All right. So are you guys going to do anything since you know that you're probably being watched anyways?
yeah.
I don't,
I think we do need to find a time where we can have a discussion in private. But I'm willing to give them.
I just want to look at something else.
I'm willing to give them this organization, this conspiracy, if you will, time. Obviously, and he holds out the hand where the scar is. We were under some kind of control before.
You know it's there.
Right. I know.
I just want to make you aware.
Yep. Oh no, I know.
So, I think for the sake of information, and especially to hear Viola's take on this, if she is the root cause of all of our issues, which does make her an interesting source of information, but I think she'll have perhaps more of the story.
You are assuming that I trust you.
Well,
But
that would make this hard.
I saw a wolf. I see Christiana murder maybe 100 people. I see you.
Wait. Okay. I wish to point out, none of you remember ever seeing a wolf. But you remember from your past the wolf, and you remember from your dream the wolf. I just wish to point out that, like, that's a little bit of a...
You go crazy, Corwin. He looks like a crazy... Would Mishka know the word Hell Knight? Would she know that's what it was?
Hell Knight?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay. So Corwin, he looks like Hell Knight, and I try to touch the chain, and you guys are all... And Lambert, he bashes my head into a wall. So, yeah, I think there's a problem.
And it's something we need to talk about. It is something we need to talk about, but not here and now. I need kind of...
Okay. Now I cast the silent table.
Okay. What's the duration on it?
Oh, that's it?
That's
Um,
reasonable.
it's based off of your level, remember?
right.
What does it say?
1 minute per level.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm going to cast
3
this
minutes.
and say, we got 3 minutes.
With your detect magic up, you still see, like, that she casts... Is it abjuration, or what is the school?
It is glamour.
Illusion.
Okay.
Illusion, sorry.
And yeah, you see something around the table around you, kind of altars, almost as though an illusion of your conversation. And you can kind of make out, like, you can kind of sense, especially something about illusions really, like, seems powerful to you, and it's almost like you can see what they would see.
And I can see through them more
Mhm.
easily too.
Yep.
So,
Sorry, I said, oh shit, that wasn't level 0. Anyways, we have 3 minutes.
Okay, and 3 minutes starting now.
all right. Let's hope that's effective. I don't know that I believe everything we're being told. There's some kind of conspiracy to bring us together. There's some kind of conspiracy to pull us out of that situation. That much I believe. We're being told that we're very special, which I think is just to prop us up. I think there are a lot of things that I'm remembering that I never knew before.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're being planted.
This is my problem. I have memory, and then I have another memory of same event. I do not know which one to believe. Some of these very bad, some of them not so bad, but still.
That's why we're here. We're taking. If you stay here, you're taking that step to figure that out.
But
Information. And Corvin, this is especially important for you. Remember who you are. Like who you are. Like us here at this table. What we feel, what we believe, what we're working for, what we're fighting for. This is who we are.
let's also
All these other things are being put into our minds.
But by who? Because Viola kidnaps us. Viola maybe caused our parents die, and now Viola brings us here.
I think it's a double blind. I think we're being told.
Viola didn't cause my parents to die.
Are you sure about that?
I think it is a double
I
blind
saw
where we're
my
being told that
father
we're being
get
rescued.
killed.
Are you sure that's right
With my
memory?
own eyes, it was not Viola.
It's your own memory?
As far as I'm aware, and for right now, that's what I will believe. The only things that I know, I'm going to hold on to that. Until I see something else and whether or not I discern that it is true or not. But right now, I'm, you can only help those that are willing to help themselves, and I'm wanting to help myself now.
I think we're being led by the nose just like we've been before, whichever memory we can believe. But remember this. Even if our pasts are confused and muddled and we can't make sense of them, going forward, we decide our own paths and we decide our story.
So what's the plan, Parno?
What is your thoughts, Corwin?
I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around this. I don't think you have time to hear all of my thoughts at this moment.
I really wanted to make a really bad
So long
joke.
as we can do this again tomorrow.
I'm trying to not wrap my head around eating brains.
For now, 24
Don't make
hours.
jokes. You're on a timer.
Yeah. As long as we can do this again tomorrow. For now, we just need to get more information, get what Viola wants us to know, because that's what she's going to tell us, what she wants us to know. And that should give us a better starting point for the beginning, the end, and what we can do. I don't know if I don't know what to make of all that. We need time to think about it.
Well, I think the worst.
This time will give us time.
In the thick of it, the person who's having the worst time is the person that we don't know where he is anymore. Think about Hamish.
What about Hamish? Is he even involved?
We don't know. Hamish didn't know who his parents were, as far as we're aware. He has no idea that his mother's been trying to find him.
You know who his mother is?
Oh wait, shit, I don't. Sorry. Extract
And
that.
the spell ends.
That's not fair because she.
No, yeah, I forgot. Elise knows that, but Christiana doesn't.
Right. So we get another 10. We get another 10
I'm
seconds.
sorry.
Yep.
But
Just finish your
Hamish
thought about
knows.
Finish
Hamish
your
No, because his
isn't aware of
thought.
any of this that's going on. At
Right.
least there you go. Hamish is in the dark, and we have left him there.
Okay.
Well, I will point this out. Okay, so the spell ends, but I will point out that both Violas seem to be intent on getting Hamish back.
Right.
So
Right, but I'm saying, like, at the moment, we are all together,
I'll
and
give you.
we have
I'll tell you what.
forgotten.
I'll give you 5 seconds to respond to her if you want to.
But okay. What
No,
was the
no,
actual
you don't get time to
last
think about
thought?
it. The last thought was Hamish is in the dark.
Okay. We don't even know he's involved. Maybe he's safer there.
Or where he is.
Okay, that's it. I was giving you a chance to spill the information whether we wanted to or not. So, but yeah. All right. There doesn't with your detect magic. There doesn't seem to be any change in the divination magic that's in the room.
Okay.
So you assume that it probably worked.
And I'm going to have more food.
Me too.
And then suddenly there's silence again.
Nice spell, by the way.
At that point, we are now going to take a break.
Okay.
Should be
So
called
this is
silent
actually a
entertainment.
perfect moment to do so. We have been going for already like an hour and 45. I did not realize, but all right, everyone, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes.